warm welcome to India Today Explains, a show where we decode and tell you every aspect of some of the biggest stories of the week. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, and this week we'll break down 4 stories for you. First, the big debate over the population demographic crisis in India and if there's a need for Indians to have more children. We'll also tell you all about the Karnataka MUDA scam and why Siddaramaiah is in the dock. Also on the show, do you need to replace your existing PAN card with the PAN 2.0 initiative? And finally, some international news on the show with President Biden pardoning his son. We'll explain to you what exactly a pardon is and is there such a provision in India too. First up, let's talk about the raging debate over whether India's population numbers are dwindling. RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat has sparked a discourse over this now by urging couples to have 3+ children and boost fertility rates. Is India dealing with a population crisis? Is there an urgent need to boost fertility rates in the country? Many politicians, some think tanks certainly think so. But we now break down for you India's demographic and how other countries compare. Let's begin with a look at India's population numbers. India has the largest population in the world with 142.86 crore people. This is as of December 2nd, 2024. We've used Worldometer's details of the latest UN, the United Nations data. Now, this number is roughly 17.78% of the world's population. India overtook China as the world's most populous country in 2024, and our numbers are only growing. So I know what you're thinking. If we're the most populous country in the world, how can there be any sort of population crisis? The answer lies in the breakdown of the population. The median or the average age in India is about 28 years right now. But with fertility rates going down, the concern is over India not having a young population, a young demographic in the years to come. From a high of 6.18 children per woman in 1950, the fertility rate as of 2022 is 2.01. It's been going down every year as per this graph. So how is fertility rate measured? I'll just quickly explain that for you. It's measured as on an average how many births per woman. So when we say 2.01 is the fertility rate right now in 2022, that's the average number of births per woman, or essentially that most women are having 2 children. Let's tell you now about the states with the lowest fertility rate. On the top of the list is Punjab, then West Bengal, and that's followed by all the southern states, Maharashtra too, which is why there's a constant debate in the south on the fertility rate and the need to have more children. The states with the highest fertility rate are Bihar, Meghalaya, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand and Manipur. Now let's talk about how India compares to other countries. Keep in mind for that the number I told you earlier of India's fertility rate currently, which is 2.01 as of 2022. The country with the lowest fertility rate is South Korea, which has some of the lowest fertility and even marriage levels in the world. South Korea's fertility level as of 2022 was just 0.78. The South Korean government, therefore, is offering financial schemes, housing assistance, and a whole lot of SOPs, essentially to encourage people to get married and to have children. What about China? China's fertility rate is lesser than India. It's at 1.18 births per woman as of 2022, which is what's prompted a 3-child policy in China. And that's because China's population is aging faster than any other country. Historically, developed countries have significantly lower fertility rates. It's generally connected with greater wealth, also education, urbanization, and several such factors. And in least developed countries, fertility rates tend to be higher, which is why you'll see fertility rates higher in many countries in Africa. India is also following that trend, higher fertility rate earlier. With development, with education and urbanization, fertility rate is dropping. But does India have measures to tackle this dropping fertility rate? The answer is no. Quite the contrary, in fact. India has taken several measures for population control and for family planning. There are programs like the Mission Parivar Vikas, which focus on ensuring contraceptives are available in even the most rural parts of the country. And then there's also the two-child policy, which was adopted by 13 states in the country. We're talking about years ago. Essentially, what's a two-child policy? Families which had more than 2 children would not be able to contest local body polls, would even lose out on some government scheme benefits. In the last few years, however, many states have actually rescinded the two-child policy, keeping in mind the drop in fertility rates. The most recent state to have scrapped the policy is Andhra Pradesh. So is there a need to press the panic button like other countries have? The projection is that the fertility rate in India will fall to 1.29 by 2050. Now, I know what you're thinking. Many countries have that fertility rate currently, so it can't be that bad. The reality is what I mentioned earlier, that it isn't about numbers, but about an aging population and ensuring that India has a young, vibrant population. All right, let's now tell you about what's happening in Karnataka. For the last many months, Karnataka has been rocked by allegations of a MUDA scam against Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. This week, details of the ED investigation have come to the fore, spelling more trouble for the Karnataka Chief Minister. But let me now explain to you what this alleged scam is all about and, importantly, the charges against Siddaramaiah. The biggest talking point in Karnataka political circles today is the alleged MUDA scam, a land scam linked to Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and his family from years ago that's haunting him today. Let's first tell you what this word MUDA is in the entire alleged scam. MUDA stands for Mysore Urban Development Authority. It's a government body. It looks into the development of residential and commercial properties, essentially the development of the city of Mysuru. So let's get right into it now. What's the alleged scam here? To explain this, I have to go back in time to 2010, when a parcel of land, 3.16 acres of land to be exact, was gifted to Siddaramaiah's wife Parvati by her brother. Now, even the means by which Siddaramaiah's brother-in-law got the land is in question, and I'll get to that in a bit. But first, let me tell you about the allegations against Siddaramaiah's family. This piece of land was in a village called Kesare in Mysuru. But this very land was acquired by the MUDA, which I told you is the Mysore Urban Development Authority. It was done to develop a layout, and the CM's wife was then allocated an alternate site under a 50-50 scheme, which was introduced in November 2020. Now, basically, this 50-50 scheme means those who lost their land, or rather their land was taken over by MUDA, would be entitled to a developed site. Why is it called 50-50? Because 50% will be given to them, 50% will remain with MUDA. So under this scheme, many people got alternate developed land sites, all of which is under question, by the way. And in the list of beneficiaries is also Siddaramaiah's wife. This scheme, interestingly, has been scrapped by the Congress government because of the dubious deals signed by MUDA under the scheme. Now, Siddaramaiah's wife got land allocated in Vijayanagar a few years ago. Now, this land was located in a much more affluent, much more developed area of Mysuru, which effectively means that the new land allocation was worth much more than the original piece of land in the Mysuru village that MUDA took over. Now, here's what's interesting. This land was allotted to Siddaramaiah's wife in 2021, when the BJP was in power. So if this happened years ago, how did it come to light now? Well, it first came to light because of a complaint that was given to the Mysuru Deputy Commissioner by a person named Manjunath Swami, who claimed the original plot in the Mysuru village was grabbed from his family by Siddaramaiah's brother-in-law. And it was in June 2024 that an RTI activist alleged the involvement of Siddaramaiah's wife Parvati as well. This prompted an FIR against Siddaramaiah and his wife Parvati, and currently the case is being investigated by the Lokayukta in Karnataka and also by the Enforcement Directorate under the PMLA, which is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Well, in the ED case, the accused are Siddaramaiah, his wife Parvati, and also his brother-in-law Mallikarjuna Swami. The charges against the accused are criminal conspiracy, public servant misconduct, dishonest misappropriation, cheating, as well as forgery. Now, the ED, in a letter to the Lokayukta, has claimed to have uncovered a 700 crore scam and has claimed they have significant evidence against Siddaramaiah, against his wife, and even his son Yatindra of wielding undue influence to go ahead and get the prime property land allotment. So how has Siddaramaiah responded to the criticism? Before we tell you that, let me highlight here that in September 2024, Siddaramaiah's wife wrote a letter to MUDA, voluntarily surrendering the plot and seeking to cancel the deeds in her name. Siddaramaiah, who's always enjoyed a corruption-free image, has denied the allegations and, as expected, dismissed it as a political conspiracy. His defense is centered around the fact that the land allotment didn't happen when he was CM, but rather that the BJP was in power then. But it's already spelled trouble for Siddaramaiah, who's now joined an unenviable list of chief ministers who face prosecution, only the second in Karnataka after B.S. Yediyurappa. The 10-digit permanent account number issued by the Income Tax Department is said to have a slew of upgrades, enhancement of the QR code feature for new and old cards, and a completely online application process, among others. So let's tell you now why the Union government has approved a 1,435 crore rupees PAN 2.0 project and what it means for you. Dubbed as a digital leap in taxpayer services, PAN 2.0 project is aimed at improving taxpayer registration services, allowing quick and secure digital verification to make identity authentication that much more easier for individuals and for businesses. Now, under this, the existing PAN system will be upgraded and its IT backbone will be completely revamped. This has been confirmed by the government. With PAN already linked to Aadhaar, it's expected to become a strong source of identification. It also ensures improved grievance redressal, making issue resolution more efficient and user-friendly. So how is PAN 2.0 different from the current PAN card you have? Well, currently, PAN-related services are hosted on 3 different portals. In the PAN 2.0 project, all PAN-related services will be hosted on a single unified portal of the Income Tax Department. Let's break down the features now for you. Though the QR code feature, which is the most talked about, has been present in PAN cards since the 2017-2018 period, the new system introduces an advanced dynamic QR code, which enhances security measures by increasing the difficulty of card duplication or, for that matter, tampering. The QR code validates PAN details and displays complete information. So this means your name, date of birth, photograph, all of that will be provided when scanned using a specific reader application. The project also aims to set up a mandatory PAN data vault system for all entities using PAN data. This includes financial institutions, government agencies, central and state government departments through an online validation service. So who can apply for PAN 2.0? All current PAN card holders are automatically, in fact, eligible for the PAN 2.0 upgrade. If one already has a PAN, if you already have a PAN, you don't need to apply again. Which brings me to the next question. Is it mandatory? Absolutely not. Existing PAN cards will continue to be valid under PAN 2.0, so there's no reason to panic or rush to get yours upgraded. Existing PAN holders need not mandatorily apply for the new card, but if you want to upgrade it, you can go ahead and do it free of cost. The number or the PAN essentially remains exactly the same. And our last talking point on the show is outgoing US President Joe Biden issuing a sweeping pardon for his son Hunter Biden, backtracking from his past promise of not using the extraordinary powers of the presidency for the benefit of his family members. Biden Jr. was convicted in 2024 on federal gun and drug charges and also pleaded guilty to tax charges in California. President Biden has defended his action by describing his son as being, and I quote here, selectively and unfairly prosecuted while being treated differently. So what exactly is a presidential pardon? The US Constitution grants the president the power to pardon federal offenses. Section 2 of Article 2 dictates that the president can, and I'm reading from that particular section, the president can grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States except in cases of impeachment. So this power applies only to federal crimes, not state ones, and doesn't cover impeachment cases, as I mentioned. In this case, however, the president's full and unconditional pardon is unusually sweeping. It covers any potential federal crimes the younger Biden may have committed during a period of more than 10 years. It covers the period from January 2014 all the way up to December 2024. So what does this pardon mean for the pardoned person, in this case Hunter Biden? A pardon can help eliminate some of the consequences of conviction and actually restore a person's civil rights. It represents legal forgiveness, essentially. So there's no question of any further punishment, and also ensures that the person can go ahead and have all rights restored, even being able to vote or even run for public office. So what Biden has done, is it abnormal, is it unusual, or are presidential pardons normal in America? Interestingly, Hunter Biden is the 26th person his father Biden has pardoned so far. So Biden's list itself is very long. Presidents frequently use this power. In fact, Biden has actually pardoned fewer people than most US presidents. Barack Obama, for example, granted clemency 1,927 times during his 2 terms. Donald Trump issued 237 acts of clemency during his presidency. President Franklin Roosevelt, who served 13 years in office, issued the most pardons, 3,687. But have past presidents pardoned family members? Yes, very much. Although Joe Biden is the first president to pardon his son, he's not the first to pardon a family member. In 2001, for example, Bill Clinton pardoned his younger half-brother, Roger Clinton, for a cocaine-related offense that dated back to 1985. In 2020, Donald Trump pardoned Charles Kushner, the father-in-law of his daughter, Ivanka. Kushner was sentenced to 2 years in prison in 2004 for charges including tax evasion, campaign finance offenses, and witness tampering. But in both cases, the pardons were given to people who had already served a sentence. In this particular case, President Biden's intervention in his son's case has actually come before the sentencing. The judges overseeing his cases will likely cancel the sentencing hearings, which were slated for December 12th in the gun case and December 16th in the tax case. Now, I know what you're all wondering. Does India have a similar presidential pardon power? In India, the president holds the power to grant pardons, reprieves, respites, and remissions of punishment as outlined in Article 72 of the Indian Constitution. But unlike the US president, whose almost unrestricted power to grant these pardons, the president of India must act on the advice of the cabinet. So essentially, will give her approval. One of the most significant uses of this power is in cases involving the death penalty. The president can grant a pardon or reduce the sentence to life imprisonment or an even lesser punishment. And with that, we have come to the end of this episode. We hope you found this episode to be informative. Thanks very much for tuning in. I'll see you next week.